Nithyanandam, everyone. Today I am going to talk about how my daily life used to be run completely by fear, from a place of fear, but how now it is run by a place of divinity. So a little bit of context about my childhood, my growing up. I lived in a very fear-based household. So that home base, that stability, was never really there for me. Even at home, I never felt safe. I never had that feeling of safety or being grounded. So the way I interpreted life and encountered life was very much from a place of anxiety and fear. And on top of this, I was raised Catholic. And while that did benefit my life in my connection with God, I would say that it really instilled in me the thought current of being a sinner, of this immense guilt and self-hatred whenever I felt that I was messing up, that I wasn't good enough, that I had done something wrong in God's eyes or against another person. And so it really ingrained in me that idea of like being fearful of anything I would ever do or say or mess up in life. And on top of that, I was bombarded with television and movies where I watched a ton of horror movies and films like that, and it really instilled in me this deep fear and paranoia of like supernatural things, of the unknown, of the divine in these ways. And this kind of culminated, this fear, when I was in high school and I had actually an alien abduction experience, which I will talk about in later videos, so stay tuned for that. But that really put me in the most immense place of paranoia, like almost schizophrenia, about the unknown, the divine, the supernatural world. And so that was the context I had always had. And it's finally started to shift when I went on my gap year in Ecuador. And as I was living abroad, I really had extreme amounts of time to myself to be alone and to start researching about spirituality, reading books, meditating, and journaling every day. And I had finally started opening my eyes a little bit to what else could be out there. But it was really only surface level. And at the end of my year abroad, my brother had told me about this program called Inner Awakening that was hosted by Paramahamsa Nithyananda, my guru, who we call Swamiji. And it's this yoga and meditation program in India. And I was like, that sounds really cool. I mean, I have no idea who this man you're speaking of is. I don't understand the concept of a guru or an enlightened being or an incarnation, whatever you keep calling him, but I think I'm gonna go because I had been drawn to India my entire life, inexplicably. And so I ended up saying yes and getting right back on a plane after my year abroad. And I encountered Swamiji for the first time, and I'll never forget. His name meant nothing to me at the time. I had no idea who he was. I had never even seen one of his YouTube videos. And we were in the room welcoming him for the first day of the program. And he walked in the room, and for the first time in my life, I truly experienced the vast unknown that is the divine. And I had always put God, my ideas of the divine, in these boxes. And for the first time, instead of coming from a place of fear, I came from this place of love and embracing this unknown thing to me. And it was so incredible. The second he walked in the room, my entire body started getting hot and shaking and vibrating, and with this immense energy that he walked in the room with as an enlightened being. And the closer and closer he got to me, I was just feeling more and more and more, and I was like, what is happening to me? What is happening to me? My hands were shaking, my whole body vibrating, and I couldn't believe like what my eyes were seeing. I still can't really explain to you in words what that experience was for me, but the second I saw him, I just saw something I had never seen but had always longed for in my entire life. I had always talked to God as a child, prayed, you would call it, but I never felt like, how would I ever experience the divine really? How was I worthy of that? And all of a sudden, he was right before my eyes, and I seriously cannot explain how much my being was just rejoicing, and I was just bawling. And physically, I was being shown this proof because, like I said, I didn't believe anything about this man ahead of time, and I was seeing what is happening to my body. Like, I can't believe that these energy levels I'm experiencing and happening to me. And so that was just one of the many mystical experiences I've had in my life up until now. But that really set the tone for how I began to perceive my daily life. And through the completion process, which is this process of letting go of your past and present to really to your past and future to really experience your present fully, to let go of all those traumas and pains that we have held on to and take responsibility for them and step into our powerfulness. This is a technique which I'll explain in further videos if you're interested. But that had allowed me to let go of all of my past trauma from my childhood, and my anxiety and depression for the first time since the beginning of high school literally dropped in an instant. And since then I have never experienced it again. It has been so freeing. But one thing I continued to rattle with was this holding on to my identity still, fearing that change, the loss of a sense of self. And I actually had the opportunity to have an Akashic reading, which is where initiated Gurukul Balasants at our ashram here in Divinity in India, they're initiated into reading the cosmic archives. So it's kind of like a psychic reading, but extremely accurate and not muddled in any way. So they told me that my prarabdha karma, the karma I came to solve in this life, was to have that loss of identity, loss of ego. And I knew it was true the second I heard it, because I had been struggling with that so much this year. And they told me that by the end of Sadashivoham, I would be able to let that go. And that was the program I just attended here. And I truly feel like in that choice to get a spiritual name and now shift my entire identity, what I'm even called as, to a new thing, to Prasiddhananda, that I have this opportunity to completely drop these last remaining inklings of a sense of self and attachment to that self, so that I can continue to foster this divine growth. And just a little bit about getting a spiritual name has been this culmination for me of this shift in identity from fear to divinity, because I even see how now when people look at me and call me this new name, that their perception of me has changed and my perception of me has changed, and there's no past incompletions and memories tied to Jillian anymore, right? So our name holds so much power, and when people continuously utter that name over and over again, it brings back everything that you attach to that name every time you're called that. So I have this completely new beginning and new blank slate of my life, where I'm just stepping into this new space and journey towards enlightenment under my spiritual name. And the most beautiful part about it is actually hand given to me by my guru, Swamiji, who is an enlightened being. He actually looks at the cosmic archives and looks at your direct path to enlightenment and names you after that. And so I'm the only one with this name in the world. And my name actually means Nithya Prasiddhananda. It means extremely well known by all as a blissful being, as Sadashiva. And so hearing that, I was just like, wow, I can't wait to see where this is going to bring me and what this is going to unfold for me in my life. And I just can't wait to experience everything. My day-to-day life is just really a gift and a blessing at every moment, and I can just see the conscious working of everything so much more now that I've experienced this spiritual journey. And this culmination really has been getting a spiritual name. So thank you so much for listening to my shift from fear-based living to conscious living, and I can't wait to share more with you guys later. Let me know what you think, like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thank you and blessings.